Alright guys, so we're back here with like the complete tear down and rebuild of the flat deck. So today I'm just going to take you through the head and the cylinders. I don't know how long it's going to take, and then I'll eventually transition to taking off the pistons and splitting the case and the stator and the bed plate, but I think I'm just going to go over these two things to start unless it goes really smoothly. So basically all you're going to do, I took all the head bolts or nuts off before the video just to like save some time. So basically I already have the flywheel pulled. I pulled that off camera just because it takes so long and it's a real pain. But basically when I pull the flywheel, I like to use these tools that are from Js550. Hopefully you can see them. And then this one is not for the flywheel, but it's nice if you need to hold your drive shaft to like get a impeller off or something. So these are all a 3-pack from Js550. I think it's like $150 for all 3 of them, which is a little expensive, but they're pretty decent tools. So this one, it goes in the holes. I think I may have talked about this before, but it basically just goes in the holes on the flywheel here. And then you put your breaker bar in that one. And then over here, this one can either go into the coupler, which this is like a really useful one too, because a lot of times people put like bars or screwdrivers through here, and then they end up putting too much stress on one of the tabs and end up snapping one of these tabs off on the coupler. So this is a way more even way to distribute the load. So you put your breaker bar in that as well, and those are pretty good tools to have. So look up Js550 if you do want to check these out online, and you can find these tools and they're pretty helpful. So you don't have to butcher your stuff. So I think those are definitely a good tool to have if you're going to be doing this. And you know, in usual 550 fashion, you're probably going to be taking the engine apart a lot. So here we go. Basically, this head came off really easily because I just had it apart like a year ago. But if you take yours apart, that's a really clean dome too. That's a clean dome. This thing was running pretty good. So when you take yours apart, if the head is not coming off, which if it hasn't been apart in a long time, I guarantee you it's going to give you trouble. So I have a video on my channel also on how to remove the head if it's stuck. You can find that in my playlist. It's like the how-to section. So basically, if you have trouble with your head, there's that. And then pretty much, I like to leave the bed plate on. I know if you have the manual, I think it tells you to take that off like first or second or something. But I like to take it off last because I like to be able to stand on this and like, you know, have a little bit of leverage on the engine if I'm trying to get the cylinders off and stuff. So that's just my own personal preference. And since I sidetracked myself, before you take the flywheel off, since the flywheel's on a lot tighter than the coupler, make sure you get the coupler loosened up before you take the flywheel off. Otherwise, you're going to be doing some janky stuff to get this off because you're not going to have anything to hold it. So make sure you do your process in the right order there. So right when you pop that case or the cover, flywheel, take that off, take the coupler off using the flywheel to hold, and then take the flywheel off so that you aren't stuck with the coupler still on the end of the crank, because then you can't change your rear crank seal. So you're going to have an issue. You're either going to be hitting it with a hammer or who knows what else. So definitely avoid that if at all possible. And we're just going to basically try to get this cylinder off. It hopefully will come off fairly easily because like I said, it was just off, yep, there it goes. So this, I pretty much can guarantee it's not going to be this easy for you if you haven't had your engine apart recently. But it shouldn't be too bad. I also have another video. So see, I like to stand up on the bed plate and pull up if I can feel it starting to, like it's gonna break free. So that's why I like to keep the bed plate on it, personal preference. You can do it however you feel is right. I've done quite a few of these things and that's how I've always done it, so I'm gonna keep on doing it that way. and also try to keep this stuff as clean as possible, because it's just best not to just not to have to clean it a bunch and risk getting dirt and stuff in there. Just not worth it. But this crosshatch in here still looks really good. Bores look super clean, no real bad scoring or anything. There's a little at the bottom, but hey, not too bad. The crosshatch is still all looking like it's brand new. So I'm gonna say this thing was a pretty healthy engine. It has a good burn on top. I was definitely running it a little rich, but yeah, so basically that's just taking the head off. And if the cylinders are stuck, I also have a how to get the stuck cylinder video off, and you can check that out in my playlist that I have the how-tos on. But I'll just quickly explain it here. So if you have the head, you can knock the fittings on the sides. You got to be careful though. Or if you have it in the engine, or if you have it in the ski and it's still hooked up, you can quickly turn the engine over and the compression will probably pop it loose. Or you can stand on top of it and try to get a hold on it. Or you can also hit it with a mallet. Like if I have a stock head or like a Mariner head that is just aluminum, I will hit it with the mallet a couple times. But like in this case with this West Coast head that's blue, it's expensive and it's a really nice head, and I do not want to risk messing it up. So I would be very careful with that. But if you just have a stock head, you know, no real concerns with damaging any of those things. They're a dime a dozen. Even a Mariner head, if you hit it a couple times, you aren't going to notice any damage. So I guess since that actually went really well, next I'm not going to probably take it off here, but what you're going to want to do here is just like clean these out a little bit. If your stator looks like this, just make sure they're like a little bit clean. And then this stator looks horrendous, I know. So once you get them cleaned out, kind of with this, just dig it in there, get any of the grime or anything out of it. And then once that's all good, you're going to want to grab your flathead, because you really don't want to risk stripping any of this stuff out, because if you do, you're in a lot of trouble. So just take your flathead and you're just going to basically get it in there and break it loose. I did also have this stator off, just like, or actually I didn't take it off, but I did see it, because I did take it down to about this point. I just changed the pistons and put a bore on it. I did not do the crank seals or rod end bearings, like you definitely should if you have a unknown engine that's old, it has not been rebuilt. If it's still the original rod end bearings or the original crank seals, you can have air leaks through your crank seals, which will make your jet ski start really terrible, like the 550s are notorious for, because people get them cheap and then don't do the seals, and they're 30 years old and it has like a leaky middle seal, and it doesn't ever start very easily, no matter how much tuning you do to it. So that is a mandatory thing. I didn't do it because I was on crunch time trying to get this thing running, and I know the rules, I guess, and I've done it a few times, so I just kind of figured, you know, if you know the rules, you can break them, kind of thing. So that was kind of the situation there. But we are going to do we are going to do the seals, the rod end bearings. I have new rod end bearings. I will give you the part number for that in the following video, so that if you want, you can go get them. They are on eBay, and it's a foreign company that makes the bearings for the crank. So, and I know a few people who have run the bearings in their skis and have had a lot of good luck with them. So that's kind of my plan with those. So basically, at this point, that's where I'm going to end off this video, and in the next video, I'll talk about the pistons and splitting the cases. I'm not going to do the cases on camera just because it is a pain, but I'm going to talk about it. So I'm going to end that one off here, and I will see you guys in the second part of this engine teardown.